Oh, hello YouTube. Today on Live Free, Live Rich, I'm going to get smashed and talk about reading and writing, so you don't have to. In light of recent events, something has come up that kind of ties in with a video idea that I already had, that I already was kind of like working on, and now I think that this kind of brings it all into fruition, and I can kind of just kind of speak on this and use this as a learning example for people. By the way, hi, my name is Jonathan Rosignol. If you don't know who I am, you can visit livefreeliverich.com or just simply Google my name and you can find out. So what I want to talk about today is, if you're not familiar with the indie scene, mostly this is just going to be a video for people who are very much involved in Authortube, Booktube, and the indie, and more specifically the indie publishing scene. And recently, this past Saturday, there was a little bit of drama that went down, and this isn't going to be a video addressing the specifics of the drama. I will explain what it was essentially about. There was nothing really special there to really talk about. I mean, it was like the typical MO in terms of the type of nonsense that transpired. But it was what came as a result of said drama that I want to address, and then just kind of like use this as like a learning experience or a teachable moment for those on the outside looking in. If you may have been interested in getting into self-publishing, indie publishing, and maybe working on your own book or whatnot, and maybe getting into self-promotion, self-representation, and getting into the whole creative sphere, and some of the things that you may have to deal with, some of the things that you might expect out of the indie scene. I've seen this type of stuff plenty of times, and it's nothing new, it's nothing special. But for those who may not be prepared to deal with such things, it might seem like it's overwhelming, or you might get confused, you might not know what's going on, and you could overreact. And that's precisely what I want to try and illustrate if you want to avoid getting wrapped up in the nonsense. So what happened? What was the gist of the drama that went down Saturday in terms of indie publishing? Well, what happened was there was a post that went up by a particular somebody who was prominent in the indie horror, specifically the indie horror community, and they publicly declared that they were no longer supporting a specific small press publisher, which was effectively for personal reasons. The reasoning that they gave basically just would fall under the umbrella of of a morality deal. There was absolutely nothing that the publisher did that was ethically, that went against ethics of in any business sense or in any legal sense. Why did they do it? It was over a book that the publisher was going to be distributing or releasing under their name. And it was the book itself, the content of this book itself, that triggered this individual and caused them to feel like they needed to make a public announcement, publicly announce their withdrawal. Now, do I know if these people, I don't know if these people have any behind the scenes business connections of any sort or anything like that, which is why I'm not going to be naming names here. And another reason is because the names are actually quite irrelevant in this particular, if we were going to study this situation in particular, because from my experience, the names change, but the behavior remains the same. I've seen this pattern dozens of times, play out dozens of times. And the way that this, and unfortunately, this particular story ends in tragedy. So stay tuned and I'll explain what happened. So basically, this person puts out a post publicly declaring that they're no longer supporting XYZ company. Now, if they have business connections to them, that's one thing. But if they don't have business connections to them, it's literally just moral grandstanding. That's literally what it comes down to. They decided that they wanted to use their social platform as a soapbox to effectively morally grandstand to all of their followers about their a decision that is effectively a personal choice. Again, like I said, it had nothing to do with ethics, because I went and then I went over to the small press publishers page, and and saw what the hubbub was about, and I'm thinking to myself, really? Over that? And now here's the thing, you may be asking yourself, you may be wondering, what was the big deal? What was the book about that caused this moral outrage? And you see, if you are asking yourself that question right now, you've already fucked up, because that is how they get you. The answer to the question, or the answer to that question is, it doesn't matter what the book is about, because what is happening here, what is happening here clearly is just an exercise of power and exerting power and control. That's all this is about. Don't get it twisted. Whether they know it, whether they willingly know it or not, that is what this was about, and I'll explain why I believe that is the case in just a moment, based on what I literally witnessed happening before my eyes. The person saw the post, it triggered them, okay? And if you know that word, they got triggered by what was contained, by the material of this book that was going to be published by this small press company, made a public declaration, and which ironically enough acted as like a call to arms or a dog whistle to all of their followers or friends or those that's in their clique, because that's what it's like. That is what it's like for some people on social media. It's like this like high school kind of like clique thing, to like suddenly it like draw their attention to this thing that has made their friend feel morally outraged. And then these people then turned around and started piling on to this small press company, to this artist, the author, about this work, and just, the typical thing where they're bullying them and calling them all kinds of names and slurs, and the smear campaign commenced. Watched it unfold in real time. It didn't take long for it to snowball either. And now normally that type of stuff, it's just like, ha ha ha, internet drama, ha ha ha. You laugh it off, and it's just like, you go and you make your popcorn, and you kick back, and you're like, oh, what do these people have an opinion about today? I'm used to their behavior at this point. Like, I know their whole MO. Like I pretty much knew what was going to happen, the things they were going to say before they even said it. It's like the typical scripted type of reactionary kind of stuff that they've been programmed to say, ever since they were younger. But I'm not even mad. I'm not even necessarily mad at the people who, got caught up in the nonsense and thought that they were just defending a friend or standing up for social justice or anything like that. Because for the most part, these are just, harmless people. The Looney Tunes and the Fruit Loops are going to do what the Fruit Loops and Looney Tunes do. You take whatever they have to say with a grain of salt, and you just go about your day. I'll admit that I get a kick out of their shameless behavior, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine to see how petty they can be and witness all the things that they can be offended by. But that doesn't excuse their behavior. In their absence, the internet would probably be a pretty boring place. Without them, then the internet would probably just be filled with a bunch of people engaging in rational, reasonable, logical discussions like level-headed adults. But that doesn't mean they're to be taken seriously. In this particular instance, it actually resulted in something that caused real damage. And that is what pissed me off. That's what kind of set me off or inspired me to, push this video out a little bit sooner than what was scheduled and kind of just go off script here. And because, like I said, I'm not going to call out any names or anything, because the reason for that is not because, I'm necessarily trying to protect anyone in particular, because I'm not like, I try to keep my distance in terms of interpersonal relationships with people on social media and stuff like that. I don't get into this whole like parasocial thing. For me, it's just very much about the art, and I'm capable of keeping things professional and separating the art from the artist. And that is one of the teachable, and that's why I think that this is a teachable moment. And as an individualist, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt in terms of when it comes to their ability to change. So in other words, I don't believe in stooping to their level and retaliating in kind and starting, smear campaigns over the internet. Quite frankly, I think it's a pathetic display, and especially from people who are supposed to be so-called leaders in the community and think that they have acquired some sort of status, and they like to call themselves professionals. I'm not into that. But like I say, a lot of these people that get wrapped up into this, I actually feel bad for them in a way, because it's almost like you can clearly tell they're kind of like socially inexperienced. Maybe some of them are like socially inept, maybe a little bit awkward, whatever. I mean, that kind of goes without saying when we're talking about Looney Tunes and Fruit Loops, because, the Fruit Loop, you probably know. The Fruit Loop is just someone who seems like artificially sweet, whose kindness, comes off as superficial, and typically their day-to-day is, is engaging in kissing ass and paying lip service for members of their respective cliques in order to gain social status. I.e., like virtue signaling, whatever's the new hot button issue in the mainstream media. You pick the right you pick the right team. You go for the good guys. There's no nuance or anything. It's just good versus evil, and then evil. They actually think in their head that that's what they're doing, is they're extinguishing evil, and they're standing up for moral righteousness, and that's where it gets awkward. And look, I don't even fault you for that. I've done cringy things before myself that I look back upon and I'm like, ugh, I did that, or I think a week, some time's going to pass. Some time's going to go by, maybe a week goes by or something like that, and some of these people may come to their senses, look back on this, and think to themselves, you know what? I think, I kind of made a mountain out of a molehill here. You know, that was kind of unnecessary, and some people got hurt. And that's the part that, you know, that pisses me off, is like in their quest to, you know, jock for position in this little popularity contest of theirs, real people in real life actually got damaged in the aftermath of this. People who probably didn't even know what the hell was going on until after the fact, and they got dug out of the rubble. And that's it gets deeper, trust me. So what happened was what pissed me off is not so much the bullying that was transpiring, because these people, you know, it just, once they start going, it's just like, it's like flies. You just like, shoo fly, get out of here, you know? That's how you really should respond when you know that what you're doing is minding your own business and you're not doing anything that is ethically improper in any shape, fashion, or form in a legal sense. And that isn't what was happening here. This was a moral grandstanding that was taking place. So again, I'm just repeating myself. But what happened was, what pissed me off was the small press company decided to bend the knee and allow the Looney Tunes and the Fruit Loops to bully them into submission, and they just, without warning, without rhyme or reason, or taking any time to say, you know what, okay, maybe we'll take some time off, we'll think about things for a little bit, and, you know, we'll take things into consideration, whatever. And they didn't even have to do that. They simply could have just said, fuck off, and that'd be the end of it. Literally, just be the end of it, because what are they going to do? What are you going to do? It's independent. You're not beholden to anybody on these social media platforms. So what I'm getting at here is, like, they shut the doors, and that not only in one foul swoop, all the people that were signed on with this small press company were suddenly, like, their work is just like in limbo. Like, their work is no longer published, and now they don't have any representation, all over a simple tweet. And that to me is disgusting. Like, that to me, at this point, I already, like, I don't even sympathize. I'm not gonna sit here and victim blame or you know, really put too much shame. Like I said, there's no need to name names because it's irrelevant. But really, like I said before, what it's about is power and control. So why I say this is a teachable moment is because if you're going to get into the indie scene, well, for one, I suggest that you represent yourself. If you're going to be in the indie scene, represent yourself. But if you want to branch out, you know, maybe you do some work with this small press or that small press, you know, you spread it around. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. That could be one thing that you learn from this, is not putting all your eggs in one basket. And another thing is, you know, being able to represent yourself and understand the environment that you're getting yourself into. The arts and entertainment industry is, you know, for the most, it's pretty toxic in turn. I don't say that term very often, but in as far as online and in the social realm, it is pretty toxic. Like, there's a lot of sensitive people in this sphere, but that's kind of like why I'm wanting to put this video up too, because I don't want people who are on the outside looking in to think this is what it's all about. You have to placate. You're in a position where you have to acquiesce and you have to placate to a certain group of individuals within the community, or else you're just not going to make it in this sphere. And it's like, that's not true at all. For me, it's about the art and the culture that surrounds the art itself, because I want people on the outside looking in, the younger artists out there, and I don't specifically mean age as much as I mean like experience in terms of young artists, that there are those of us in the creative sphere that have a level head and that are capable of separating the art from the artist, and aren't in this to be buddy-buddy with people and form cliques and act like middle school children at recess, and actually want to take the art form seriously, and it's something that we just enjoy, because for the first time in history, you don't need gatekeepers for anything. That's the point. You don't need gatekeepers. You're not beholden to anybody. You are independent. You have distributors online for your products, but there's plenty of different types of distributors that you could go with as well. And that's the thing, is like, you don't have to feel as though you need to bend the knee or acquiesce or placate to any specific demographic of individuals online who think that they have some sort of power that doesn't actually exist in real life. And that's what pissed me off about this whole situation, was how that small press company handled the situation. Now, I don't know them personally. Perhaps they have things going on in their personal life that they're just like, you know what is this internet drama thing? Okay, shut it down. I don't need to listen to these people. Maybe that's what the situation was. I don't know for sure, as far as behind the scenes. But really, if you're going to get into this, you have to understand that's it. The drama kind of comes with the territory, and you need to know how to navigate that. So for the most part, you don't take the Fruit Loops and the Looney Tunes seriously. The reason why I say it's toxic is because I don't want people to feel like they are afraid to tell their story, no matter what it is. That's why I said back before, it doesn't matter what the book was about. The material of the book doesn't matter, because I've already seen there's already plenty of small press publishers out there that are publishing some of the most absurd and ridiculous nonsense that I've ever seen. But that's kind of like the beauty of indie, is that it's kind of a free-for-all. Anything goes. Art is a medium where it's a form of expression and releasing emotion, and it's a form of catharsis for both sides of the coin. For the writer, maybe it could be as far as expelling demons. It could be, it could just be exploring taboo subject matter. And trust me, a lot of you that were all up in arms over the nonsense got wrapped up in it. You know what I'm talking about, and you are aware of some of the taboo content that is already available out there. And this book that is involved in this nonsense seemed pretty tame in comparison, compared to what some of you people are promoting out there. Some of the books that are in promotion, and I think to myself, really? Like, is that genuinely how you feel about that book? But I'm not going to get on my soapbox and make a big deal out of it. I just whatever. They're just, maybe they're just doing a friend a favor or something like that. You know what I mean? That's not me. That's not how I operate, but, to each their own. So you don't allow the bullies on the internet to intimidate you or make you think you aren't allowed to pursue your passions in life. Okay, again, this is an independent scene, the indie scene. You're not beholden to anybody. And so you don't bend the knee. The reason why you do not want to bend the knee is because, like I said before, you are validating you're validating the Looney Tunes and the Fruit Loops, and you're making and you're validating their delusions of grandeur, and you're perpetuating that belief in their mind that they have some sort of special powers that do not actually exist in real life. So if you're going to get into the indie scene, I mean, I guess your options, you want to navigate it in a way where your mind, you are able to separate the art from the artist, for one, and understand the difference between what is professional and what is personal. Just having an understanding the difference between the two. What is personal and what is business. What is professional and what is what is dogma, essentially. I just want to get this video out as soon as possible while all the nonsense was still fresh in people's minds, and just let you know, almost like, let you know that not everyone in this indie scene is a Looney Tune or a Fruit Loop, and not everyone who is a Looney Tune or a Fruit Loop may always be a Looney Tune or a Fruit Loop, and that anybody, is capable of fucking up from time to time and doing something that is considered cringy or engaging, or getting wrapped up, making a mistake and getting wrapped up in nonsense that really should have never even happened in the first place. All right, bye. Hey, before you leave, you know what time it is. I got one more thing to do. On your left, you'll see the Rebel deck. On your right, we got the Mythic deck. Well, given the context of today's video, I think I'm feeling a little bit mythic. I don't know about you. But hey, you social justice warriors out there, think you can slay this dragon?
Let's go!